Hi, everyone. I thought it was important that we have a conversation about this woman here. And the reason why we need to have this conversation is because she is a piece of work. And we need to understand a little bit more about, I think, who Pauline Hanson is, given that she seems to have, I don't know, a lot of influence, a lot of power at the moment with a lot of voters. And I think that we should call out some of the things that Pauline Hanson has done and is doing that perhaps should make us aware of who actually this woman is. And the first thing I want to start with is that when she entered politics in 1996, we must remember that it was Pauline who decided that Asians shouldn't be in Australia, that the place was being overrun by Asian people. Now, that was the first indication that she was racist. There's been many other indications, and one more recently, which I'll talk about in just a minute. But certainly, Pauline was an enigma. She also won a seat in Queensland, and they had about 11 seats, I think, at one point in Queensland, but she lost all of those seats as time went by because people started to see who Pauline Hanson was. Now, I understand that much of what we're hearing about Hanson and One Nation is really because so many people are disaffected by the Liberal and Labor Party, particularly Liberals and Nationals. I understand all of that. I guess to some extent I'm sympathetic towards people's feelings of disenfranchisement, not being able to afford a home, the cost of living expenses, inflation, and a whole lot of other things that the Albanese government have failed to address in any meaningful way right at this particular point in time, even though they're working towards it. But Pauline Hanson, after she was elected, after she lost her seat, she was held by a court in Queensland, and I think I'm not too sure whether a federal court or a district court, but for election fraud in 2003. Now, this meant that she was jailed for 11 days, and it's worth noting that she was found guilty by a jury. So she will say today, and has done in a piece I'm about to read to you, that this is the government, this is so Trumpian, this is a government endeavouring to incarcerate her. It is not. It is when you break the law. Now, the reason behind all of this was that she and David Eggleton at the time decided that they were going to incorporate a whole lot of people in their 500 membership list to put towards the Australian Electoral Commission for their party, to register their party, and in doing so, a lot of those people were not actually registered with the party. They were affiliates, but they weren't registered with the party. Now, that is election fraud. Now, I've been through that myself in terms of running a political party, and I know what has to take place, and it's a pain in the ass. It takes a long, long time. You've got to check people's addresses against the electoral roll and their correct names against the electoral roll, because if you put in a list and any of those things do not match with the Electoral Commission, then that person can't be counted. Now, I understand all of that, and it's complicated. We, as a small party, just a few of us were able to do it, so I don't know what Pauline Hanson wasn't able to do. But anyway, it was deliberate. It was intended to be deliberate. She spent 11 days in jail because it was appealed, and the appeal was upheld, which meant that also the conviction was squashed. Now, had she been found guilty of that particular incident, which would have meant a maximum term, I think, of 3 years in jail, she would not have qualified, or she would have been prohibited from running for Parliament. If you have a conviction that's over 12 months, then you cannot run for Parliament. But because it was squashed and the conviction wasn't upheld, she therefore was free to run for Parliament, which clearly she has done since then. Now, the other thing we need to note about Pauline is that, so I was curious about how much she's worth. And the estimates go up to, they're a bit vague because we don't know everybody's income. We don't know what shares they have necessarily or how many shares they have. We know what companies they've got shares in, but we don't know how that's made up. But it's estimated she's worth about $20 million. Now, I'm not going to begrudge her having earned that money. I'm not going to criticise her for having risen from a woman that owned a fish and chip shop to a wealthy politician. There are lots of wealthy politicians. When you're earning 200,000 plus a year, if you play the game correctly, you should make a lot of money from all of that. So fine. What I am questioning, though, is how Pauline uses the money that she receives from the party and how she uses the money that she receives where she gets paid for the certain number of votes above a certain level. All political parties do get paid. So they get a contribution back from the government depending on their proportional number of votes. Understand all that. But, what does Pauline do with that money? Does Pauline really, really care about people? Does she really have a range of policies that are appealing to the population apart from her stance on immigration? I've looked at those policies, and she doesn't, and most of them are quite questionable. I did a post a couple of weeks ago, was planning to do one this week, but hasn't. But nevertheless, I did one on the splitting of the family income, and that is a load of crap, quite frankly. But nevertheless, they have these policies out there. Most of them are relatively meaningless and will not benefit anybody in particular. So what is Pauline Hanson really about? I think she is a fraudster. I think she's attempting to con us so she can stay in Parliament, so she can earn as much money as she can, so that she can live a comfortable life on her $20 million or whatever it might be, and also so that she can ingratiate herself to the population so that she can feel important about who Pauline is. Pauline isn't interested at all in sharing the limelight with anybody else. She is only interested in a sort of narcissistic approach to politics, whereby she becomes the most important person around. And one can see that from the number of appearances she has on Sky News. And as I've said before, Pauline will stuff up along the way. There will be people who will say enough is enough. I don't want to vote for Pauline anymore because she doesn't really fit my values, whatever they are. She'll say something that people will find quite egregious. Now, I want to take us to this particular news item, which just was stating that that the federal police received reports of a crime in relation to Pauline Hanson's comments about Muslims. Now, we commented about this when it happened, and I think it's worth noting that if anything's going to test free speech, it's going to be Pauline Hanson's language and how she refers to immigrants in particular. So the AFP comment came as Bilal Hayek, Mayor of Canterbury Bankstown, says One Nation leaders' comments will incite somebody. Couldn't agree more. Federal police say they have received reports of a crime in relation to comments made to the media by Pauline Hanson this week. But an AFP spokesperson did not say whether they had begun a criminal investigation, only that they would have more to say at an appropriate time. In response to the news, first reported by Guardian Australia, Hanson said, "They are trying to use Labor's new hate speech laws to put me back in jail," reference to the 2003 incident. Bilal Al-Halak, a mayor of Canterbury Bankstown in Western Sydney, said earlier on Friday that the One Nation leader should face charges over a highly inflammatory comment about Muslims. In Al-Hayak's council area, more than 23% of residents are Muslim, according to the 2023 census. He told the ABC on Friday that hate speech laws were quite clear with reference to public incitement of hatred and violence. On Monday night, discussing the thwarted attempt by Australian women and children stuck in Syria to return home, Hanson said on Sky News, "You say, well, there's good Muslims out there. How can you tell me there are good Muslims?" Hanson has not withdrawn the comments, though she has offered some further comments framed as a conditional apology. In one of the subsequent interviews, she also singled out Lakemba, a suburb within Canterbury, Bankstown, as somewhere people feel unwanted and do not want to be. Alex said that Hanson's target was clearly Muslim people. Now, I couldn't agree more. It is evident that Hanson's attack on Muslim people will be continual, that she will not give up. She will focus on this particular issue primarily because it's the one that divides the country the most. Rather than talking about things such as affordability, cost of energy, education, and so forth, she will be talking about this one issue over and over again. And the sad thing is, it will be the press that will keep asking her about it because they know that in that will lie a significant news item. And they will focus on it, hoping that she will say something outlandish, which she has and which she will continue to do. She is a disgrace. She is a fraud. And it saddens me particularly, and this is I was going to say bipartisan approach, but my view is that I don't care whether it's Liberal or Labor that you may or may not favour, but to look to Hanson as somebody that's going to solve Australia's problems is fraught with danger, and it is something we need to be wary of. Because firstly, she will not be able to make it into a position of power, but she might have enough power in order to cause some discomfort within the Senate, particularly around supply. So we need to be wary of where Hanson's going. She's a dangerous person. She should not have she should not get anywhere near the levers of power. That is for sure. Let me know what you think about all of that in the comment section. Remember to subscribe to my channel, to ring the bell for further notifications. Let me know what you think, because I really look forward to hearing from you. Take care.